When my wife passed away, I was left raising our little twins alone. My parents turned their backs, but my in-laws took us in with open arms. This is a story about the day my world shattered, and my own family turned their backs on me, leaving my twin children and me completely alone. But what they didn't know was that their cruel indifference would light a fire inside me, a quiet fury that, years later, would lead to a moment of reckoning they'd never forget. My name is Barrett Winslow, and I'm 33 years old. I live in a quiet rural part of Kentucky, where the fields stretch out forever and the sound of horses neighing is the soundtrack to every morning. I'm not anyone special, just a farmer working at a horse ranch owned by a kind old man named Harvey. My whole life revolved around caring for these magnificent purebred horses. It was a simple, joyful life alongside my gentle wife, Courtney, and our adorable twins, Noah and Nora. Our little home wasn't grand, but it was always bursting with laughter and warmth. But then, like a sudden devastating storm, my life was ripped apart. Courtney, my light, my anchor, left this world. The pain was indescribable, and I was left with two children too young to even grasp their loss. I can still see that fateful day so clearly. The doctor called me into the room, his voice heavy, his eyes full of sorrow. Courtney lay there, frail on the hospital bed, her eyes still bright, though weakened by the cancer that had consumed her so quickly. She held my hand, whispering how much she loved me, loved Noah, loved Nora, and that I had to be strong for our children. I nodded, tears streaming down my face, but inside something shattered. The cruel cancer took her just months after the diagnosis, so fast I couldn't even prepare. Courtney passed away on a drizzly afternoon, leaving me standing by the hospital window, staring at a gray sky that perfectly mirrored the emptiness in my heart. Courtney's funeral was simple, just like she was. We held it in a small church on the outskirts of town, the very place where we'd once stood, hands clasped, promising forever. Noah and Nora, only 5 years old, clung tightly to my hands, their innocent eyes not quite comprehending the depth of our pain. They wore the green woolen outfits Courtney herself had knitted, and Nora looked up at me, her voice small, asking, "Where's Mommy, Daddy? Will she come back?" I could only hold them tighter, desperately trying to hide the tears that welled up. In that quiet church, I felt the presence of loved ones, but I also felt a chilling distance I would never forget. My in-laws, Leonard and Frances Fletcher, arrived early that morning. They stood by my side, their shoulders trembling with grief. Frances hugged Noah and Nora fiercely, tears streaming down her wrinkled cheeks. Leonard, a man of few words, placed his hand on my shoulder, squeezing gently, as if trying to pass on his strength. They didn't say much, but their eyes held boundless love for Courtney, for me, and for their two little grandchildren. Their sincerity in that moment was a balm to my aching heart. But then when my own parents, Curtis and Loretta Winslow, arrived, a cold dread settled over me. They showed up as if merely fulfilling an obligation, standing stiffly in a corner. My mother, Loretta, wore an expensive black dress, her lips tightly pursed, never once meeting my eyes. My father, Curtis, stood with his arms crossed, his gaze passing over me like I was a stranger. They didn't hug me. They didn't comfort Noah or Nora. They exchanged a few perfunctory words with other mourners, then quickly left. I stood there watching their retreating figures, feeling as though my heart was being crushed into dust. I knew they had never accepted Courtney, never saw her as their daughter-in-law. To them, she was just that poor farmer's daughter, a disgrace to the prestigious Winslow family, a future I had supposedly thrown away. Full story on the channel. Link below. Click now and watch what happened next.